28.6% of our traffic comes from YouTube. So a massive amount. But there's another caveat that I want to put on top of this. Our YouTube traffic converts at 3 to 4 times every other platform.
Alex Hormozi just revealed his advice on growing your YouTube channel as a business owner. As someone who's generated 115K in 115 days for a client, 150K for another client in 5 months, and even $40,000 in 3 days through YouTube, I learned a lot from his insights, and I even discovered some secrets that I'm going to share with you in this video behind his strategy. And a lot of the YouTube advice out there is complete BS. So in this video, I'm going to break down Hormozi's 4-step YouTube process when it comes to ideation, thumbnails, scripting, and video editing, so you can copy exactly how he does it with live examples from his videos. So unless you hate generating leads and getting customers, this is not a video to miss.
Start with who? What percentage of families over 100K are here? Survey says 89%. So take that in consideration versus TikTok, which was much, much lower than that. All right. People who have money are on YouTube. The next thing is, what percentage of the United States is on here? 83%. All right, so you've got a huge percentage of the people who are making the most money on the platform.
No matter who you are or what you do, your ideal customer is on YouTube. YouTube is the second largest search engine in the entire world, and it's really impossible for whoever you're selling to not be on YouTube, especially if you're trying to sell expensive stuff to rich people. YouTube is 100% without a doubt the #1 play. And YouTube is constantly pushing out good videos to your ideal customer. And here's what Hormozi had to say about it.
And so growth for this platform really comes down to how discoverable is your content on the platform. And to give you context, for me at least, 80% of my traffic comes from the suggested or browse features, meaning more than 3/4 of the people that come and watch my stuff, maybe you right now, actually weren't coming because you were a subscriber, but because the algorithm said you might like this video. And so for me, I rate this as high.
And like I said, by the end of this video, you will know the 4-step process to making good videos that'll reach your ideal customer so you can collect more cash. And the reason why YouTube is actually best is because of the 7-hour rule. On average, you need 7 hours of content watched before someone buys from you, and that's not possible through any other platform out there.
So the next thing is, well, how much time are these people actually spending with you so you can really provide value? Well, for us, our average view duration per video across all channels is over 8.5 minutes. All right, so it's 8.5 minutes. Now compare that to the 5 to 20 seconds that we're getting on TikTok. I mean, we're talking 20 times. I didn't do the math, but it's a lot. A lot more time is spent here versus others. And so this allows you to develop a more realistic, a deeper, realer relationship with your audience because you can actually give them value that they can do stuff with.
But now that that's clear, let Hormozi show us how we'll come up with winning video ideas that will actually have people watching hours of our content to eventually buy from us.
It will change how you make content to make more money. So number 1 is edutainment to education. Number 2 is we went from for us to for you. Now when I say for us, what ended up happening with the mistakes I made was that, unknowingly, was that I would be like, team, what do you guys think about content? And so they'd be like, hey, we should make a video on this. Hey, we should make a video on this. And so what ended up happening is I started making videos for my team, not my ideal customer, a business owner. And so I actually had a friend come into town and say, hey, it's weird. I actually haven't been paying attention to your content. He does about $10 million a year. And I was like, he's like, well, I guess I'm not really your avatar. And I was like, whoa. I was like, you are 100% my avatar. What's going on? And so as soon as I realized that, I was like, oh man. He's like, it just didn't feel as relevant to me. And so I was making stuff for my team rather than my avatar. And so if you are somebody who makes content, something to be mindful of is your team might not be the type of people you're trying to make content for. So just something interesting for me. So it went from for us, our team, to for you, the viewer, for business owners. Number 3, we went from wide to narrow. So fitness, relationships, etc. Those are wider topics. More people are in a relationship, more people eat food, more people are trying to lose weight, compared to only 9% of people are business owners. And so we went much narrower on the topic of I'm just talking about business because that's what I love talking about too, as a side note. And so it turns out business owners like it more when I talk about business, and I like it more as a business owner. So everybody wins, at least for me.
Hormozi doesn't go too into detail on how he comes up with his actual ideas or even how he targets his avatar, because that's probably his competitive edge, right? But truthfully, this is how he generates all of his video ideas before step number 2, which is how he makes his thumbnails. And we actually use a similar process with our clients called an avatar workshop, where you break down the pains, desires, motivators, and fears of your ICP, and then you reverse engineer those insights into video ideas. And you can even ask ChatGPT to do this for you, and it will give you tons of ideas, not only for the pains, desires, motivators, and fears, but you can even ask it after that to reverse engineer it into viral YouTube ideas. And so you know I'm not lying, here's a live example of us doing it for our client that made $150,000 on YouTube while only gaining 1,000 subscribers. And I'm not going to show you everything because that's part of our competitive edge, but I can just quickly show you. We have the pains, desires, fears, and motivators, and then we have ideas up here. I'm not going to go through it all, but that's just to show you that I'm not here to BS around. And before we get into Hormozi's advice on thumbnails, I just want to let you know that you can do this. Honestly, anyone can do this, and you just have to remember that YouTube is a long-term game. And here's even Hormozi's advice on how he started and how he progressed.
And so if you are getting started, listen, I have a massive team, but it didn't start that way. So I had one guy who I stayed committed to posting 3 videos a week. And if you look at the very earliest videos on my channel, it's me with a webcam at my desk, just talking about business stuff as it came up throughout the day. And so I would encourage you to just start, and then all you have to do is every month or every week, look back at the 3 videos you made the week before and just try and improve one thing. And if you just stick that, what happens is you create this checklist over time that becomes this Mondo checklist of what ultimately creates an exceptional video that performs.
Hormozi said he focuses on 2 main things after his ideation and his avatar, so let's see what those are.
And if you're gonna obsess about something, these are the 2 things I would obsess on. Number 1 is the thumbnail. One of my last 2 videos was no BS advice on how to get rich in 10 years. And we split test 9 different thumbnails. And so thing 1 is the thumbnail matters a lot. Thing 2 is the first 8 seconds of your video, you wanna be done talking about what the video is gonna be about and start. And this is something that when I see a beginner video, I watch and it's like 2 minutes before they actually start the video. You've already lost everyone.
So we've actually covered video ideas, but we still have to tackle thumbnails, and then next, script writing. Like Hormozi starts to mention here with the hooks, and then your actual body script. And then lastly, we'll tap into video editing, which we'll cover at the end. And you need all 4 in order to grow your business YouTube channel. In the meantime though, here's more YouTube sauce from Hormozi himself.
All right, so let's start with number 1. So the difference between these 2 thumbnails is going from vague to clear. All right, so if I looked at all the stuff that we did in the past, if I said, what is the video on the left about? You'd probably be like, a rule of some sort that might have to do with money. Not sure. If I said, what's the video on the right, the yellow background video? If I were to describe it, I'd probably say a map or a blueprint or schematics of some sort that go from 0 to a million. Okay, well guess what? The one on the right, it's exactly that. The one on the left actually has nothing to do with what that thumbnail looks like. And what do you know? When people click on something that they don't know what it's about, they have a smaller percentage of getting something they actually want than if you say, this is what this is about, and then they get exactly what they think it's about. So we're going from vague to clear in both what it looks like, the thumbnails, and what we say about it, the headlines.
And the truth is, your stuff might suck when you're starting off, or it might suck right now, but that's fine. The problem is you don't know how to think about your titles or your thumbnails, or even how to execute them for perfection or reach. Your thumbnails are probably boring, crowded, and just confusing your viewer. But from Hormozi's insights, having a good title and thumbnail can be simplified down to 3 simple steps. 1, show your audience their desired outcome. And once again, this ties back into breaking down those pains and desires for your ideal customer. Number 2, something that I like to stick to is make sure your thumbnail gets attention, but your title actually gets a click. If you can think about it like this, packaging both becomes way easier. And 3rd, in your mind, imagine the best way for your title and thumbnail combination to have your viewer ask themselves a question. And if they can get curious, you'll probably get the click.
So instead of talking about relationships and college and food and lifestyle, I'm going to be narrowing down, or doubling down on, if you will, business models, business leverage, and selling in a business. Notice business being in all of these videos and all these topics. And so that's how I'm going narrower.
And once again, literally any business can do this. I did the same thing when I helped this B2B YouTube channel add $115,000 in just 115 days. So if you're a business of any kind looking to scale on YouTube, just click the link down below. But let's get right back to the sauce from Hormozi. Now we have script writing. As a business owner, you probably don't have 2 hours to script out an entire video. So here's Hormozi's advice on how you can do it.
And for me, when I looked at my videos, and I'll explain the data in a second, it became really clear. And so in entertainment, it's say the title again and then literally show them what was on the thumbnail. In education, it's show them that you can do what you promised them in the thumbnail. And that's the difference. And to figure out what made intros for our videos work, I actually rewatched my top 35 educational videos. This actually took some time, and so let me just save you like a lot of hours and just give you the nugget. And so I actually developed a new moniker around how to think about introductions for ourselves that I'm spreading throughout my whole team, and you can just steal it. Proof, promise, plan. So I'll break down all three of these. So all of the introductions of the best education videos that we had these three characteristics. And I want to make one point about the order of these, is that you can have these three mixed in any order you want. I would emphasize the one that is the most important for that particular piece of content. So if you have something that you're making that you think the proof is going to be really important, then lead with that. If you have a promise that's incredibly important for the audience, then lead with that. If you have a plan that for some reason is going to be more emphasized, then lead with that. But I would say that for our content, for the most, because I'm a business educator about making money in general, most people have this big glaring sign above their head before they can even turn on the volume of their brain, which is, why should I listen to you? And so I tend to lead with proof. And so proof is that you prove that you know what you're talking about. You give people a reason to believe you. The promise is to tell them what they're going to get or learn from the video. And the plan sets the expectations of what will happen next.
So now we have Hormozi's advice on how you can structure your hook. But before we get into the body of your video and showing you how to write your own script in 30 minutes, we need to understand why you need a good hook.
You're going to lose most people in the first 30 seconds. And so you want to crush the intro so they know it's exactly what you promised in the thumbnail headline. And then you get to the meat as fast as possible. And this video right here, we did 8 different takes of the intro where I slowly worked from 30 seconds down to 8. And then that's what became the intro that you saw before seeing this moment right now.
I've written hundreds of successful scripts for clients, and the proof, plan, promise framework is actually really easy to follow. But what you want to do is really focus on making that hook as short as possible, because after I did research on not only Hormozi's channel, but other business channels out there in the space, I realized the shorter your hook, the better. And here's even a live example from Hormozi himself.
So let me give you a real world example of this. I started this presentation with data that shows that I've done what I'm talking about. If I went up here and just skipped this part, you might be like, okay, all of this up to this point, why should I listen to you? And you'd be right in thinking that, because you have no idea who I am. I could just be some random dude that looks like a Birkenstock, slightly lumberjacky-ish, weirdly dressed man. Like, why would you listen? And you'd be reasonable to believe that, right? But if you start with that, then you're like, okay, well, he knows something. The promise was what I said you would get at the beginning. I said, I learned 6 things that made money and grew my brain that you can use today. And I'm going to save you $4 million in 3.5 years, and you'll just get all the lessons that I learned. That was the promise. Making sense? Okay. And then finally, we had the plan. I said, how are we going to get there? How am I going to complete that promise? I said, well, there's 6 changes, and I'm going to walk through them. That's the plan. And so leading with those things, we found got business owners, or the people that I'm interested in, to actually better frame and perceive and get educated on the content that we're talking about.
And shoot, I even did it for the script of this video. I first showed how I've made my clients over $350,000 in sales through YouTube. Second, I set a plan to break down Hormozi's 4-step process. And third, I gave you a promise that you would generate more leads and customers, which also calls you out as my actual ICP since you're aware of that language. And that's the 3-step process. Now it's time for the body of your script and knowing how to implement call to actions.
Now let's talk about how this strategy changes the meat of the content. What we're actually like the real bones, the potatoes, all right? Is that going from B-reel / vlog stuff, because we have made that, to lists, steps, and stories. When we looked at the educational content that did the best, they had more of the right and less of the left. So going from post-production to pre-search. So instead of saying, hey, let's just record something and then fix it in post, anybody who's in the media side knows what I'm talking about, 4 weeks of editing after, almost no prep to get a video out. Well, what if we did 4 weeks of research and then we have almost no editing because we thought of everything ahead of time? Well, guess what? The videos where we spent, the hour-to-hour ratio is stupid, and I'll get to that in a second. But if we spend a quarter of the time that we used to spend on post in pre, we eliminate 90%, maybe 95% of our post-edit work and man hours. And for the business owners in the room, that's real cost. That's real savings. And for the also business owners in the room, that also means increased production. So if I can take the quarter of the time and I can get almost 0 time on the back end, that's 4 times the videos. But not only is it 4 times the output, it's also higher quality for your goal and your audience. So this is a big thing that we noticed. The videos that we spent the most time on the front end, we spent less time on the back, and they did better. An ounce of pre-work is worth a pound of post. So that was my little take on this. And so by focusing more on what educates and what it means, we do great. And everything else distracts from that goal.
Hormozi does not break down his exact scripting format, as once again, that's probably his edge, but he emphasizes and focuses on the planning of the video before the editing side. So since he didn't break it down, I'll actually share my format that has worked for our clients and has generated high retention scripts that also, of course, collect cash. So after the hook, like Hormozi said, it's advised that you have a listicle or a plan to follow for your video. And for each of those segments in your video, what you want to do is have a setup, tension, and resolution. And this is how you're going to actually retain your viewer. Let me break it down. Per segment, you want to have what I like to call open loops that will keep your audience engaged to keep watching from one topic to another. So first, the setup is like a mini hook that introduces what you're actually going to be talking about in that segment of the video. Second, the tension is you telling your audience why they should actually care and listen to you and actually once again tap into their pains and desires. And third is the resolution, where you actually reveal what will solve that tension and give the viewer the actual answer to their problem. And while doing this, you want to do something that I think Hormozi is an absolute wizard at, which is tying in analogies, personal stories, statistics, and examples, because that's how you can get people to relate to you and have your content be more interesting. I'll even show you exactly how I did it in this video that you're watching right now. So in my first segment, I set up my topic by saying your ideal customer is on YouTube. So that kind of gets you hooked and be like, how are they on YouTube? Like how can I get them? How can I find them? Second was attention. The tension was that your ideal customer needs to watch 7 hours of content in order to buy from you, but you don't know how to get to those 7 hours with your ICP. And third, how I resolve that pain for you is that I'm going to reveal how to actually find video ideas that will have people to watch your stuff long enough so that you can nurture them so they can buy from you. At the end of the day though, nobody would just randomly buy from you. You actually need call to actions, and here's how to execute on that.
I can't DM you if you're a subscriber. There's no real story that I can post and immediately see it. The closest thing is the community tab that you can do, which by the way, murders. So if you do have a YouTube channel, highly recommend doing CTAs on the community tab sporadically when it makes sense. And so for here, I would rate this low to medium. The community tab kind of brings it up a little bit, but by and large, it's very hard for people to immediately convert. They basically have to click a link somewhere else. And if you put it in the video, it does kill your view duration. So it's like if you're going to say something, you just got to make it short, make sure that it's not too big of an ask from the audience. And then you could put links in the description, which by the way, if you look at our description, you can just look, you want to put it above the fold. So you want to have to be the first thing that somebody sees before they even click see more is where you want to drive them. You can also, pro tip, put the first comment that you have in the comment section, just pin that comment. So that gives you 2 different places, and third inside the video where you can drive traffic. This is just something that I've learned over time, but still that's a lot of effort, and it's not like, hey, respond to my Instagram story, foreshadowing, and we can start a conversation immediately on the platform. And to give context on this little community post thing I was saying, my community posts over the last 30 days had 2.5 million impressions. And to put that in context, my short videos got about 18 million impressions. So it's not nothing. It is relatively significant, especially when you can load it with some sort of call to action in there. But no matter what, you pretty much have to take people off the platform in order to converse with them and potentially convert them.
The good thing, like Hormozi says, is you can do all of this without a complicated setup or complex video editing.
So let's talk about visuals. This one's a big one. All right, so going from overproduction, and I want to be clear, not overproduction for the objective. So it's not like my team did anything wrong or anything like that. It's just that if we want to educate, sometimes production distracts from the objective of education. If the point for entertainment is to get someone to watch, then adding lots of things can be a good thing. But if you're trying to learn physics, and there's whiz bangs and pop-ups and changing backgrounds, it's really hard to learn. And if that's the throughput, or that's the point of the video, then it actually detracts rather than adds. And so the difference that I put in this example here is we have a background that changes colors while I'm teaching something. It does not help someone understand the subject matter better, fundamentally. Changing background color will not help anyone learn more. On the flip side, clarifying what words on a screen are, because maybe my handwriting's not that good, would help people understand. That's the difference. So overproduction to effective production. From distracting to enhancing. From visual effects to visualizing data. So instead of having flames behind me, it's what does this look like on a chart? So we can give relative scale, so we can have scope, so we can show changes over time. And so that's how the visuals that did the best looked like.
And once again, Hormozi literally started making raw videos in his car or his office, so you don't have to wait till you have a fully stacked out team. You can actually start taking action right now. But if you do want the entire A to Z content process handled for you, from ideation to scripting, title and thumbnail variations, video editing, and posting and SEO optimization, we handle the entire thing at Content Cash Media. We've got our clients great results and have generated hundreds of thousands of dollars on YouTube while scaling the views and subscriber count. So if you're interested in that, click the first link in the description. Other than that, hope you enjoyed. Let me know if you have any questions down below, and I would love to answer them. See you in the next one.